it recording? Yay! Oh my goodness, it's week 12. Can you believe of Wellbeing Wednesdays? It's mental that we're here and it's gone this quickly. And yes, so for the last one, for our last Wellbeing Wednesdays for now, myself and Claire and Robyn are speaking to Rachael about gynecological health, women's health, that kind of thing. So Rachael, you have an Instagram page called Overflow.
Yes, that's
Explain to us a little bit about your page, a little bit about you, and why you set the page up in the first place.
Okay, so I'm Rachael and I'm the face behind Overflow. And I set the page up just because I last year kind of entered like a personal journey regarding my own reproductive health. And it kind of gave me like a bit of a reality check, and it made me feel quite passionate about raising awareness about some issues that I'd only just come across. I'm still on an ongoing journey today, and it started with like a trip to the doctors, which then led to a trip to the hospital, and then I've been like several appointments and scans and biopsies, and then going on to procedures. I quickly started to discover that I knew very little about my own health and my own anatomy. And then obviously the next stage is you're waiting for either your results or potentially a diagnosis, and I found that quite overwhelming and very anxious, and I felt very alone. And why you're trying to digest all the information that they're giving to you, and they use quite, like specific terminology and just things like I would get letters through the post and they would say like, oh, you would be having like a trans vaginal scan or an MRI scan and things like that, and I was just totally like unaware of these procedures and like what to expect. And I kind of felt like I've just been introduced to like cysts and fibroids and endometriosis, and then obviously I've discovered that there's 5 gynecological cancers, not just one, because I think I was only ever, and like most people I think are aware of cervical cancer because we're quite fortunate to get the smear test, but I was just really overwhelmed and quite shocked that there were 5. And I thought, I can't be the only girl that feels in the dark about this, or is quite shocked about there being 5 cancers. And it's like we're all very aware that there's breast cancer and even prostate cancer, but yet we know very little about their 5 gynecological cancers, which you've got cervical, ovarian, vaginal, vulva and womb. That kind of just led me to feeling quite empowered to do something about it, which I just thought, what have I wrote down here?
So is Overflow then, like, was that your way of giving back that information that you'd learned, or opening up that topic, or opening up the doors for conversation about vaginal health, I guess, and all of these things that, like you say, that we don't really ever, I guess, unless you find out that you know there's something that needs investigating further yourself, you wouldn't really know about those things, would you?
No, definitely not. And then I started to ask myself like, why haven't I heard of these things, and why do I feel this way, what I wrote down there, sorry, and like, why as women do we find it difficult to talk about these subjects? And then that's when I kind of felt like, I'm sorry, why is it still considered like a taboo subject? And I thought, all really we need to do to help that is talk about it more. And then that's what I thought, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about it more and raise awareness and try and break those taboos down. And that's when I came up with the idea of Overflow, where hopefully I can create a bit of a platform and, a bit of a game changer for young women because if I would have had something available to me, I think like that when I was 18, I might have thought about periods in a whole different way, and I might not have been Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Don't worry, don't worry. Go on, Claire.
No, I think that's really important. Robyn and I do a lot of work with pre and postnatal women, and we kind of tend to find that once either someone's had a baby or they're hitting kind of perimenopause, postmenopause, they kind of are quite open about talking about a lot of like vaginal health issues and wetting themselves and pain on sex and things. We find our clients tend to be more open about that. But actually prior to that, and probably me personally as well, is when you're younger and going through your teen years, early 20s and things, you're right, it's not something that, and I don't know whether it's we're not encouraged to talk about it or it just doesn't feel like you can talk about it, but nobody ever really speaks about any of the things around vaginal health, sex, masturbation, any like gynecological issues. There's kind of nothing really out there. It just seems to be like, even like stress incontinence, we talk about a lot with our clients. 1 in 4 women suffer with urinary incontinence, but never talk about it. It's so common, but nobody speaks about it as if it's something to be ashamed of, and that it's kind of this some kind of shame associated with it when there shouldn't be. And recently, Robyn and I bought a few books on this topic. So I don't know if you've read The Vagina Bible by Dr. Jen Gunter, and there's a book by Emma Barnett, it's called Period, which has loads of really funny stories.
I saw that one today, yeah.
Yeah, about how women have had periods since the beginning of time.
Of course.
No one talks about them, and we kind of like hide the fact that we're on our period, and we talking about.
Or you get embarrassed about it for some reason.
And you have meetings that go on for 4 hours when you need to go and change your tampon or something, and it's not like something you can just.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you should just say, I need to go and change my tampons. Like, we kind of hide, and we don't discuss these things. So I think it's great, especially I've got 2 daughters, and I'm trying to be really open about everything with them, and I want them to be able to say the word vagina and not have to call it a flower or something like that. Use the correct terms and understand what these things are, and that there might be gynecological issues that need addressing, but the fact that they're aware that they're out there and to maybe know what to look for means they're not going to get into the 30s before they realise potentially there's something wrong, there's something that needs exploring, or just get comfortable with it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like as soon as you speak up about it, you realise that there's a massive community that are going through the same thing. And I think I remember being at work and just sat around the Monicas and probably a bit hush about it, and then someone was like, oh, you should just go and speak to Sarah, I think she's been through that. And I was like, what? You just don't realise how many people are having similar concerns or going through a similar thing, and then you feel a bit better about it because you've got another person to talk to or confide in.
Exactly. I think that's what's so great about your page, is that it's just opening up the conversation, isn't it? And your page looks amazing. So it looks like, it actually looks really cool. So you kind of look at it and go, oh, what's this? And then you go, oh, it's about vaginas. Oh my God. But actually what's great is that it just makes it accessible. And like you say, you might go on there and chat to one person, or just mention that to one other person who would go, actually, I've been through that, or I've experienced that. And suddenly it's not something to be ashamed of anymore, or a taboo subject. It's like Claire said, it's so flipping natural, isn't it? That's the crazy thing. Like, we've all got one as women, and we all have to go through these things. And, whether that's, when you first start your period, or when you go through pregnancy, or when you have separate, like, different things going on. Like, I've been for smears and have to go for biopsies and all of that. And like you say, Rachel, no one ever tells you what to expect with those things, do they? You kind of you get sent that letter from the doctors or from your results, and then you get told you're going for something else, and suddenly it becomes really, really scary. I think by talking about it actually takes a bit of that fear away, and you can chat to somebody else who's had the same experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, I guess it's like addressing serious issues but in a really accessible way, and just reassuring other people that you're not alone, because I think that's one thing I really felt was alone, and I don't want, if I can do one thing to make someone else not feel alone, then I'd be happy. So, yeah.
It also helps with when you're saying you get all the letters through and you're not sure what things mean, and I bet people end up Googling and trying to find answers themselves, and then that Googling anything. I mean, you can have a cold and then you Google it and you're dying, can't you?
Yeah, it's like a black hole.
Yeah, so it's somewhere to go to that's like a non. It's not scary. It's talked about openly.
It's not like clinical.
Yeah, and it's easy for people to understand, and obviously people's personal experiences as well help. So that sounds amazing.
Where did you go, Rachel, when you found out then? Did you do the classic Google thing and then end up getting even more kind of anxious about things because of all the results that come up?
Definitely. I remember because I've been going to Tameside Hospital, who have been great, by the way, even throughout like the coronavirus. I think I've been there 3 times, which you wouldn't think, but they've been so supportive and they're always so nice as well when you go. And obviously they're going through things and we're going through the pandemic, but they've definitely been very supportive. So I'd give a little shout out to Tameside Hospital. I'm sorry, I forgot your question.
Wait, so when you went kind of looking for information yourself,
yes,
did you just do the classic straight on Google? And
I went to IKEA because my boyfriend went with me, and after we went, we thought, we'll just nip into IKEA, and I ended up, he went off to get some meatballs. I think he came back with his tray and I was in a puddle of tears because I'd been on my phone on Google.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just automatically think the worst, don't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely would hold off going on Google because you just end up going in a bit of a black hole, I think.
Yeah. Have you found that by setting up Overflow that you've been able to connect with other people yourself that are going through either similar things, or that people have been able to approach your page or you and ask questions? Do you feel like that's helped in that sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably me asking other people questions, because there's so many other girls out there, I think, that are doing similar things, like again with like endometriosis and other like other illnesses, like chronic illnesses. They're doing the same thing, and I'm learning every day about things that I would have never ever come across. But it's been quite educating for me, and hopefully that gives me inspiration to share posts on similar topics, and hopefully I can educate others in that way.
Yeah.
And it's quite a good tool, Instagram, because you can reshare other people's pieces of information, can't you?
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, I was, my daughter's at the age now where she's just, prior to coronavirus, she was just starting like sex ed at school. So I've been reading quite a lot of stuff about that. And I only just realised that apparently the sex education curriculum hasn't really been changed for 20 years. And a big change was announced last year that as of 2020, menstrual health will be included in the sex ed curriculum, so that girls will start learning, and boys will start learning about not just sex, but actually about menstrual health. And I mean, there was other things added in there around FGM and that, but they've revised the sex education curriculum to make it more appropriate, which fortunately does include menstrual health. So it'll be interesting to see what, obviously the depth will vary with age, but as to what they're covering, that whether they'll discuss things like endometriosis and any other issues and period related issues with children at school.
That's fantastic. I can't believe it's not been changed for 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, don't quote me on that. I read it on the BBC though, so I'm pretty sure that it's
quite an accurate source.
But it said that by 2020, menstrual health will be included in the relationship.
That's crazy. And I think like what you're saying about obviously educating the whole school, so not just girls. Like I think it's so important, like you say, for boys to know, because actually then that would take away that kind of fear and shame about, you know, being on a period or going through everything that we all go through every month in the lead up to having your period, then the week when you have your period, then after having your period. Like it's a whole thing, isn't it? Oh, every month. And sometimes you kind of go, I don't even know what's wrong with me, and then you literally come on your period and go, that's what's wrong with me. There it is. Now I know. So yeah, I think that's so important, isn't it? I think, and it's mad, like you say, it has been that long before it's been updated, but we're so far behind with everything. And I think social media is fantastic for bringing these things to the forefront and bringing them to light and being able to discuss it. But why do we all think like it is a bit of a taboo, and that we are scared to talk about these things, or that girls are scared to go